It was close to 2 a.m. when I was driving down a rural highway on my way home from a weekend trip. The road stretched endlessly into the dark, lined with trees that seemed to swallow the glow of my headlights. My gas tank was dangerously low, so when I saw a flickering neon sign in the distance, I felt a wave of relief. The sign read "Open 24 hours," though the place didn't look like it had seen a customer in weeks. Paint peeled from the building's walls, and only one of the fluorescent lights above the gas pumps still worked, buzzing faintly as it attracted moths. I pulled up and got out, half expecting the pumps to be broken, but surprisingly, they turned on. As I filled my tank, I noticed how eerily quiet it was. There wasn't another car on the road, not even the sound of distant trucks, just me and the night. After finishing up, I decided to go inside to grab a drink and maybe ask the cashier how far the next town was. The bell above the door jingled as I stepped in, but the inside of the store was even stranger than the outside. Rows of dusty shelves stood half empty, stocked with expired snacks and old soda cans. The refrigerator in the back hummed loudly, but the glass doors were foggy, making it hard to see what was inside. The air felt stale, as if no one had been inside for months. Yet, on the counter, there was a small radio playing faint static, like someone had left it on by mistake. I called out hello, but got no answer. That's when I noticed something odd. Behind the counter, the office door was slightly cracked open, and through it, I could see a faint glow, maybe from a TV screen. I walked closer, expecting to find a clerk asleep on the job, but before I reached it, the office door slowly shut on its own. I froze. The bell on the entrance door suddenly jingled again. My heart skipped as I turned around, expecting to see another customer. But the doorway was empty. The door hadn't even opened. The sound had just played on its own. I backed away slowly, trying not to make any noise. But then I heard it. Footsteps on the tiled floor behind the counter. Slow, deliberate, like someone was pacing in that little office. I called out again, louder this time, but still got no response. The pacing stopped abruptly. Then came the sound of breathing. Heavy, raspy breathing, as if someone was standing just a few feet away in the dark office, waiting for me to get closer. That was enough. I turned and walked quickly to the door, trying to stay calm, but as soon as I pushed it open, every single shelf in the store let out a loud creak at once, like the entire building was groaning. I bolted out, jumped into my car, and sped off without looking back. In the rearview mirror, I saw the neon sign flicker one last time before shutting off completely, plunging the gas station into darkness. I checked later, curious if maybe I had imagined the whole thing. But when I searched the name of the gas station, I found out it had been shut down for nearly 10 years. And to this day, I can't explain how the pumps worked, or who was breathing behind that office door. It was late at night, close to 1 a.m., when Daniel was driving home from his girlfriend's house. The roads were empty, not a single car in sight, and the streetlights grew fewer and fewer the further he went. His route took him past an old stretch of road that cut through the woods. Locals in town avoided it at night, claiming it was cursed, though most people just thought of it as a spooky legend. Daniel had always laughed off ghost stories. He was practical, rational, and never believed in anything supernatural. But that night, with the windows slightly rolled down, the cool air biting his skin, and the heavy silence outside, he started to feel uneasy. His headlights illuminated only about 20 feet ahead, beyond which was nothing but black. As he turned a bend, his high beams caught sight of something, a figure. A man was standing by the roadside, barely visible until the last second. Daniel slowed, his first instinct being concern. The man didn't move, didn't even put out his hand for help. He just stood there. His head was tilted slightly downward, his shoulders hunched. Daniel rolled his window down a bit more and called out, "Hey, you need help?" No response. The man didn't budge. Daniel noticed his clothes. They were old-fashioned, like something out of the 70s. His shirt was torn, and his pants looked stained with something dark. An uneasy chill crawled down Daniel's spine. He decided to keep driving. But just as his car passed, he glanced into the rearview mirror. The man was gone. He had vanished completely, though Daniel hadn't seen him step into the woods or cross the road. He was simply not there anymore. Trying to shake it off, Daniel sped up. The road twisted again, another sharp curve, and then there he was. The same man, standing at the roadside, this time closer to the edge of the asphalt, his head slowly raising. Daniel's heart dropped. He slammed the brakes, swerved slightly, then accelerated past. His breathing grew ragged, his palms slick with sweat. He didn't dare look in the mirror this time, but the sense of being watched only grew stronger. His car felt heavier, as if someone else was inside with him. He swallowed hard and whispered to himself, "It's nothing, just my imagination." Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. He was nearing the exit of the forested road when, suddenly, something tapped on his passenger side window. A soft tap-tap. Daniel jerked his head to the right. The man was there, no longer outside, but pressed against the glass. His face was pale, his eyes hollow, like dark pits in his skull. His mouth opened wider than humanly possible, but no sound came out. Daniel screamed, floored the gas pedal, and didn't stop until he reached the first gas station several miles away. He pulled over, jumped out, and frantically checked his car. No one was inside. The windows were locked. Everything looked normal. The cashier inside the station saw Daniel trembling and pale as he walked in. He poured himself a coffee with shaking hands, trying to explain what happened. The cashier just nodded slowly and said, "You saw him, didn't you? The man on Hollow Road." Daniel froze. The cashier explained that drivers for decades had reported the same thing, an eerie man who appeared on the roadside late at night. Some said he was a hitchhiker who was killed there years ago. Others claimed he was never human at all. Daniel never drove that way again, and whenever someone brought up Hollow Road, he stayed silent, because deep down, he knew what he saw wasn't just a trick of the mind. The pale man was real, and he had tapped on Daniel's window. It was just after midnight on a freezing December night in rural Ohio. The roads were slick with frost, and the only light for miles came from the buzzing fluorescent lamps of a lone gas station that looked like it hadn't been renovated in decades. I pulled off the empty highway to fill up. My car was running low, and this was the only station for miles. As I stepped out of the car, the air felt unusually still. Even though I was in a public place, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Inside the gas station was eerily quiet. No music, no chatter, just the low hum of the old refrigerator units. The cashier was nowhere to be seen, though the register light was on. I wondered a bit, calling out a soft hello, but there was no answer. That silence put me on edge. As I grabbed a drink, I heard the front door creak open. A man walked in slowly. He was tall, dressed in a dirty brown jacket, and his jeans looked stiff, as if they hadn't been washed in weeks. His face was partly hidden beneath the shadow of a baseball cap, but what unsettled me most was the way he just stood near the entrance, staring. I gave a polite nod, trying not to overthink, but he didn't respond, didn't even blink. He just stood there, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Finally, I approached the counter and set down my drink, hoping the cashier would appear. Instead, the man in the jacket slowly stepped closer. His boots echoed against the floor tiles with each step, the sound far too loud in that dead silence. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. His hands were trembling, and sticking out of his jacket pocket was what looked very much like the handle of a knife. My throat went dry. I tried to stay calm, fumbling for my wallet while pretending I hadn't noticed. Just then, the door to the back room swung open, and the cashier finally walked out. He was an older man, holding a clipboard, completely oblivious to the tension in the room. The stranger's demeanor changed instantly. He stepped back, forced a smile, and asked for directions to the nearest town. His voice was raspy, strained, as if the act of speaking was foreign to him. The cashier gave quick directions, but the man hardly seemed to listen. Instead, he glanced back at me one last time, eyes narrowing, before slowly walking out into the night. The door creaked shut, and he was gone. I paid for my drink as casually as I could, though my hands were still shaking. When I finally got back to my car, I sat for a moment, trying to steady my breathing. That's when I noticed something chilling. On my windshield, written in the frost, were 3 words. I see you. I didn't stick around to process it. I started the engine and sped out of there, my heart pounding the entire way down that empty highway. To this day, I don't know if he wrote it before coming inside or after. Either way, I'll never forget that frozen gas station and the man who seemed to be waiting for something or someone who never came. This is Frightcast, reminding you to trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. It was late summer in upstate New York, the kind of night where the air feels heavy and the crickets sing endlessly in the dark. I was driving home from a small town gathering, my headlights cutting through the winding back roads. The trees on either side felt like a tunnel, swallowing the light, leaving me with nothing but narrow beams of vision ahead. Around 1 a.m., I spotted something unusual just past a bend in the road. A figure. It was an old woman, standing completely still at the edge of the gravel shoulder. Her posture was unnervingly rigid, her head slightly tilted down, and her long gray hair falling like curtains around her face. She wore a pale nightgown that looked far too thin for the chilly night air. I slowed the car, rolling my window down just enough to ask if she needed help. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I called out, but she didn't respond. She didn't move. She just stood there, head tilted, hair swaying slightly in the breeze. The longer I looked, the more wrong it felt. Her nightgown wasn't just pallid, it was dirty, torn in places, and stained with something dark near the hem. I felt torn. Part of me wanted to get out and check on her, but something deep in my gut screamed not to. Instead, I eased the car forward a little, expecting her to turn or acknowledge me. But she didn't. She didn't even flinch when my headlights passed directly over her. I finally drove off, my chest tight with unease, but after about a quarter mile, guilt gnawed at me. What if she really needed help? What if she was confused or lost? Against my better judgment, I turned the car around. When I reached the same stretch of road, my headlights revealed nothing. She was gone. The shoulder was empty, not even footprints in the gravel. My stomach dropped. I drove slower, scanning both sides of the road carefully. That's when I saw her unknownly this time. She was much farther down the road, standing in the same posture, head tilted, nightgown swaying in the breeze. It was impossible. There was no way she could have moved that fast. Fear surged through me. I didn't stop this time. I hit the gas, keeping my eyes locked on the road ahead, refusing to look in the mirrors. My heart hammered in my chest as I sped through the endless darkness. Finally, after what felt like forever, I reached the faint glow of a town's streetlights. I pulled into a well-lit parking lot and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to convince myself it was just exhaustion playing tricks on me. But here's the part that still makes my blood run cold. When I got home later that night, I parked in my driveway and shut off the car. That's when I caught it in the reflection of my passenger side window. Just for a split second, the faint outline of an old woman's face pressed against the glass, grinning. I stumbled out of the car, my chest pounding, but there was no one there. Just silence. I've never taken that back road again. And sometimes, on heavy summer nights, I still catch myself checking the glass of my car, half expecting to see her reflection staring back at me. This is Frightcast, and some things you pass on the road at night should never be followed.